Hey everybody, I think I figured it out. Here's an updated tutorial walkthrough for Morrowind VR in 2022. Sorry it took so long to get this video together. I have a real job now. Super stoked about that. Hopefully I'll be able to make more YouTube videos when I can. This is gonna go from beginning to end. No need to rely on older videos, which I will leave up just for insight, but I will highlight that they are like old. They're not relevant. This video will, from beginning to end, annotated, will help you through the process of playing Morrowind in VR. So here's some thoughts. OpenMorrowind VR is not an officially licensed product. It is a mod to make that is made from a fork of the OpenMorrowind project, which in itself is an engine update to help Morrowind run better and on many more systems than it was originally conceived of working on. The main thing to keep in mind is because this is the OpenMorrowind engine, not all Morrowind mods are going to work if you do decide to mod this game further. There's a lot of information about what that means in regards to how OpenMorrowind and OpenMorrowind VR work, and how the mods themselves work with these different forks. I can't go into all the details on that because that is like way outside of the scope of this video or this series of videos. The ones that say that they do not work with OpenMorrowind aren't going to work. That is like 100% the most true statement that can be said about it. I am not the developer of this project at all. Please don't harass the developers of this project. If they stop working on this project, nobody will be able to play. So if something's not working, just be patient. I know that it's frustrating. I had to wait 10 months to be able to play OpenMorrowind VR again, because nothing that I was doing was working, but because I spent a little bit extra time learning some stuff or looking around for the best guide or the best information that was available, I was able to eventually play again. Sometimes it just takes time, so just try and be patient. Thank you very much. I just know that this is where you can get the files and then you can play the game. And it's really awesome. And we should be so grateful to all the wonderful people who worked on this. I literally just picked this up because I was working overnight shifts as an Amazon worker. I was the guy who got all this stuff on the stupid pallet and I would like push it forward or whatever. There was a little article thing. And it was just about Morrowind VR and getting that set up. And I was like, oh dude, that's so cool. Like I love Bethesda games. It'd be cool if we could hack this into a Fallout game or something like that. And really it just became like one of my favorite things to do was just mod in or mess around with different VR games like Morrowind VR and Skyrim VR. Skyrim VR took over like a large chunk of my free time at the beginning of 2021. Best place to find answers would be on the Reddit community r/OpenMW VR. I'm gonna have a link down below to it. I have the title of it, how it's spelled, on the screen right now. And r/OpenMW VR is the best place to go for questions about OpenMorrowind VR. r/OpenMorrowind is the best place to go looking for questions about OpenMorrowind. You can probably bring up some of the OpenMorrowind VR stuff there, but you know, it's really kind of up to you. People there for OpenMorrowind are also there for OpenMorrowind on Android devices, like Android handheld devices. So like there's Open Microwave users who are on there. There's just general OpenMorrowind users. There's Linux users who are just trying to put it on different machines like even Raspberry Pis or even a Pi Go. If you look into some of the stuff that like Raspberry Pi command modules are able to run. I've gotten Morrowind to run on a Raspberry Pi 4 before. It's okay. I've also gotten it to work on the Retroid Pocket 2, which is a really interesting device. I am trying to look into as many different options that are out there for eventually like natively porting it to the Quest. OpenMorrowind and OpenMorrowind VR seems to be written in C++, which I am not familiar with. It makes a lot of sense. It's written in C++, just from what I know as an outsider looking in. It would have to be on the scale of you know, the Half-Life Lambda ports work, so you'd have to bring your own. Honestly, I would love it if Dr. Beef's team were able to take a look at this or maybe collaborate on an option for a fork that works on Oculus Quest. I'm in the middle of creating a Discord server for my YouTube channel here, Hoverspool. I'm open to having some discussion there as well about how this stuff works, maybe like some of the tutorials that I do and share sometimes. But for the most part, like I'm just sort of like testing the waters with that because I don't really know what a good Discord server is made of. I'm just trying to make sure it's the most safe and secure thing that is possible if I'm going to do that kind of crap. Anyway, now onto the video proper. So the first step should be choosing whether or not you want to start with a fresh install. Sometimes this is the best or the only option available, but I'm just going to show you real fast how to do a fresh install of Morrowind. So depending on where you have it installed, I have it on Steam, as you can see right here. We're just going to go ahead and hit the little option button over here, manage the game, and uninstall the game. We'll go ahead and uninstall it right there. Now that that's good, if you want to, you can, if you really want to, you can go into your common files, look for that Morrowind subdirectory right there. You see it leaves your saves. And if you really want to, you can go ahead and just delete it right there just to make sure. So now everything is gone from Morrowind, including your saves. We'll go ahead and hit install. Then you'll install it where you need to install it. I would recommend installing it on your boot drive, so your C drive, or the fastest drive that you have, where you maybe put all your VR games. But if not, typically the normal installation on the C drive will be the best bet. Just make sure it's not in your program files. It has to be in program files x86. If you're running into any issue, just change the directory that you're installing it in. Anyway, I have it here on my E drive, for example, but you can do just fine with C / program files x86 / Steam / Steam apps / common / Morrowind. That's a good place to also install it. Anyway, go ahead and install it like normal. We will find it and point to it later. So as I was demonstrating earlier, you'll go to wherever you have Steam installed. Typically, it's on wherever, and you can go into Steam Apps, Common. And once we're done downloading here in a second, it'll take a second. All right, that's very, very cool. So now the next thing you want to do is come over here to Manage, and then you can go to Manage, Browse Local Files. And this is right now where Morrowind lives. So this takes it, and it'll show you exactly where Morrowind is. You got Morrowind Launcher. You might want to go ahead. This is the exe that launches when you launch Steam. If you want, you can double check to make sure the game works. You can come in here to options, get your basic configuration out of the way. But for the most part, if you're doing this as a fresh install, you don't really need to mess around with this, so you can go ahead and hit exit. Really, like, the only thing you might want to do is just come over here, make sure that the data files, looks like we still have some of those old saves have been backed up, for example. So we'll go ahead and cancel, hit exit. You don't really need that. New folder, saves. Go ahead and hit the Morrowind launcher. You can go to data files, and now you see there's no save files anymore. So you just have Blood Moon, Morrowind, and Tribunal. Hit OK, hit exit. You can check the data files here, and it's just got Tribunal, Morrowind, and Blood Moon. Now where this Morrowind is important for the next point in the the next point in the install. The only other thing you want to make sure when you're doing a fresh clean clean install is going over to Documents. Now when you're here in Documents, you're going to go to MyGames, and in case you've ever installed OpenMorrowind before, OpenMorrowind's configuration files will be right here in OpenMW. You can go ahead and delete that because we're going to be installing it fresh. So even if you use the flat version of OpenMorrowind as opposed to the OpenMorrowind VR, you might want to delete that just so OpenMorrowind VR's settings are as good to go, ready as possible. Again, this is kind of destructive, so if you have different versions of Morrowind, I would suggest learning how to back that up or weighing your options there, whether or not you want to play in VR or not. But this is how you get a fresh install. So now we have completely wiped it. We have a clean, normal install of Morrowind. There's no mods on it. There's nothing left of any of the old stuff that we have. Now with our fresh install of Morrowind, we are going to go to the GitLab. So here on the GitLab, link that I've provided down in the description, this is the GitLab project for OpenMorrowind VR. This is the Releases tab, and we're going to go with Prototype 4. specifically the Windows binaries, because we were on a Windows machine. If you're having any issues, you can maybe try some of these other prototypes, but for the most part, Prototype 4 has the most advanced and most relevant options available to us right now. I would recommend this. It is very, very stable, and it works with most of the mods out there. So we'll go ahead and we will click on the Windows binaries, and then we'll go ahead and click download. We're going to download it to an area where we can keep a lot of these files, so make sure you have enough space for it. But also, this is going to be a separate file folder where we can kind of organize a lot of the mods and the other things that we might be working with later. So let's go ahead and save it to our downloads file. All right, we have it here. And since it's in a zip archive, a zip file archive, we're going to probably want to download something like 7-zip or WinRAR. I have both here, but the most important thing after you download one of these programs is you want to make sure that you extract to its own folder. So don't hit extract here. You can hit extract files and then go through the rigmarole of that, or you can just hit extract to open Morrowind, just like that. There's the same option in 7-zip. If you go to 7-zip, you can go to extract to, and then in the quotation marks, that'll be its own individual folder. Just make sure you do that for organization's sake. Now, going in here to open Morrowind VR, we have all of the options that we need to keep going forward. So here's Open Morrowind VR, or OpenMW-wizard.exe. We're going to need to run this program first. If Windows Defender stops you, or if Windows Defender messes with you, there are no viruses or any sort of software in it. I have my system set up by default to be very, very cautious of all of those kinds of programs that I download. But you can let this one through your firewall or whatever kind of security measures you have. But none of those are going to pop up for this tutorial on my end. So anyway, we're over here in Open Morrowind Wizard. We're going to hit next. We have an existing installation because we downloaded it off of Steam. Same thing would be true of Good Old Games or through the Bethesda launcher. As long as we just downloaded it in the normal sort of way, we're all good to go. If you have a retail CD or DVD version that you want to get ready for Open Morrowind or Open Morrowind VR, I'm going to assume that you're probably old enough to know how to set that up yourself. So we're just going to go with the existing installation. Go ahead and hit next. No existing installations detected, so we're going to go browse. We're going to go to where we downloaded Morrowind. So we're going to go to our Steam library, Steam apps, common, then find Morrowind. Then inside of the data files, then we'll find Morrowind.esm. And we'll go ahead and collect that so we make sure we aim Open Morrowind Wizard at that Morrowind.esm. We'll go ahead next, hit the English, import settings from Morrowind.ini, so that's just a Morrowind configuration file that's from the game, and import add-on and plugin selection. So we don't have any new mods in, so that should be just all fine and good to go from there. We'll hit next, and then we'll finish closing the wizard. Now from here, you can actually go in and launch into, you can actually go ahead and launch into Open Morrowind VR by starting up your virtual reality headset and then going inside and clicking on this link. Once inside of your headset, open whatever client is used to interact with your computer's user interface and access files directly on your computer desktop. Then open OpenMW_VR.exe inside of your headset. This should launch the game. So now feel free to play the game, check out the different settings, make sure that performance is viable on your machine or with your headset. Again, I use an Oculus Quest 1 with Oculus Link, going directly through the cable to then launch through the Oculus Home app into Open Morrowind VR. Feel free to play through the game. It isn't perfect. It is a little bit glitchy. The rest of this video is going to be about certain settings fixes and options that can be activated. So this is that document I was talking about earlier for kind of guiding through a lot of these processes. This is what I'm referring to for the most part. There will be a link down in the description. These are some of the tweaks that you should add to your Open Morrowind.settings.cfg file. So right down here, these are just some things that the computer tells Open Morrowind how to like set certain scales or set certain options for it. Again, there's going to be a link to it down below. I will talk about it when I timestamp it. And then we can come over to Open Morrowind, Documents, MyGames, Open Morrowind, and open that settings.cfg. And you are going to paste the information in there. It's already in there for me, but it's pretty straightforward, just pasting that information after any information that is already in your settings.cfg file. If there's any duplicates, just remove the duplicates, but it'll remind you, it'll let you know if there are any duplicates down the line. Now feel free to launch Open Morrowind _VR XE again. Go to the in-game options after loading into a game or starting a new game. You probably won't be able to interact with the main options from the main menu. So it's best to just be in-game when you're messing with these options. Under Game Settings section, disable the crosshair. As it is not functional at this point in time, it just exists on your wrists, not indicative of anything. Adjust the actor processing range on that main global game settings section to be something closer to 4,000. This is up to you and your computer, but larger numbers means more processing for pretty much very little benefit. Next, you can configure the video options to your preference. You should focus on the view distance and the gamma. Adjust these to performance and comfort. Under the water section, you can choose however you want to render the water. I have high-end settings, but it's possible to get them by enabling a water shader, turning refraction off, texture quality low, and reflection shader detail to the terrain. You can increase or decrease these settings depending on how your performance feels. But I'm going to leave what settings I use for low quality up here on the screen right now. Ideally, you should be now able to play Morrowind VR perfectly fine from beginning to end, more or less, with the same kinds of limitations and options that are in vanilla Open Morrowind. But I am going to include in this guide a few very useful mods that kind of improve the greater Morrowind experience by adding in a few features that aren't present in Morrowind but were later adopted by Oblivion. The first being Open Herbalism, which allows you to immediately gather resources from certain resource points, and animated containers, which adds an animation to every single time you open up specified containers in the world. And the final mod is Expansion Delay, which just delays the Tribunal and Blood Moon expansion ever so slightly. It just sort of pushes it a little bit further down in the greater plot of Morrowind. All right, so this is how to download the expansion delay mod for Morrowind. So when you click on the link, you'll be taken to this page. You can always make sure to read this information whenever you need help or if you want to better understand what's going on. But for the most part, this is just helping make sure that this Morrowind VR mod goes along smoothly. So make sure you're logged in and you've got everything else going for you. So come over here from the mod file over to the Files tab. You can hit Manual Download. You can go ahead and hit Slow Download. And then you can save it to that same downloads file folder that we've been working on throughout this mod. So it's the same one that has this other stuff in it. So this one's just called Expansion Delay. We'll go ahead and save it. We're going to show this in the folder so we find it. So we've got it right here. And we're just going to do the same thing where we're going to extract it to its own file folder. So make sure it's extracted to its own file folder. Expansion Delay right in here. Go into there. And we have inside of docs, you'll have the README text. So if you really want to keep that around, that's fine. But for the most part, we know to just grab this file so you can Control-C it, and then come over to the data files inside of your Morrowind install, and you can go ahead and paste that in. So now you have expansiondelay.esp. And that means that the expansion delay, which is a mod that basically it just keeps the Brotherhood assassins from immediately spawning and like killing you the first time you sleep in Morrowind. Because you have the Blood Moon and the Tribunal expansions, by default, most people do, unless you're booting off disk for whatever reason. You probably have access to those mods and access to that DLC. And because of that, certain characters will probably like start talking to you about the events of Blood Moon early, or give you quests about Blood Moon much earlier than you actually will be playing that DLC in your run. As well as the Brotherhood, they don't know that there's a delay from the Tribunal starting, so you'll have high-level Brotherhood assassins coming after you at level 1. It's not an impossible fight. In fact, some people will use it as an exploit to farm, but read the rest of this mod. I think that it's pretty lore-friendly, but it's also pretty lightweight, and it's on a recommended mod list. There's other mods out here, and this one's completely optional, but it's not a bad one to kind of start with and understand how like ESP modding kind of works if you've never done it before. Again, this one is completely optional. So if there's any mod that you're going to download, I recommend this one the most. It saves the most time, it's the most comfortable, and it really is not that difficult to install. I'll be walking through the way to install this in OpenMorrowind, the OpenMorrowind way. If you are using a different version, or if you're not planning on using the VR version, don't watch this video for a tutorial on how to install this mod for like old school Morrowind. This is just for OpenMorrowind and OpenMorrowind VR. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and hit files. So you can read all this. It's very, very important. Make sure that you read all this if you have any issues. But because OpenMorrowind VR is a fork of OpenMW, you're just going to want to make sure you grab the meshes folder and add that to data files. That is what this installation block is talking about right here. So if we go into here to files, we're going to go get the main file right here. Down the line, we might need this patch later if you want to download another type of mod, but for the most part, this main file right here, it's the only thing you got to work on. So go ahead and hit manual download. Hit slow download, and then you can download it to that same working downloads directory we've been working on this entire time. So let's go ahead and hit show folder. So we have it already downloaded. Let's extract it to its own file folder so it's nice and organized. We'll go inside of there. You don't have to worry about these optional smooth meshes, Just come here to 00 core and then just copy, because we're doing the OpenMorrowind version, we'll just copy this meshes folder and then go into our data files folder, and that's where we will paste in this new meshes folder. From there, Graphical Herbalism is installed and will work on OpenMorrowind and OpenMorrowind VR. So that takes care of that. There's no longer a delay between when you open up a container, when you're foraging like a mushroom or whatever. You won't have to open up a container. It will just automatically pick it and add it to your inventory. All right, so this is how to download OpenMorrowind Containers Animated. This is a completely optional mod, but it really doesn't add any performance issues, and it really kind of like, it does nothing but make the game kind of a little bit more realistic, a little bit more breathable, and it has a few more things going on at once. So that's why I oftentimes recommend it. Now, the only thing that we're going to have to worry about is downloading this mod. So we make sure you read everything down here in the description page, make sure you favorite and upvote it and everything else. But come over down here, and you can go down and hit the manual download. We're going to do slow download. And then once again, we are going to download it to that one file folder that we've been working in, that we've been using to work our mods together. So let's go ahead and show in folder. We're going to go ahead and extract again to its own file folder. We're going to open it up. Containers animated, and then there's like this optional thing that you can look into if you really want to. But for the most part, I'm going to recommend going into containers animated, and then you can grab these three files, so meshes, sound, and containersanimated.esp. You do not need to grab the readme.txt unless you feel like it. But you can go ahead and copy that and put it into your data files folder for your Morrowind game. Go ahead and hit paste in there. This is going to add a new containers animated thing, and now that is installed. I will show you how to activate these ESPs later on. Now that you've installed those mods, not all of them, but the 2 optional mods that I listed that had ESPs, you're going to want to make sure that those get activated. And the way that you can make sure to activate your mods, instead of doing it the old-fashioned way where you would go into a configuration file and make sure that you clicked on it or you wrote out some code, the best way to go is into Open Morrowind Launcher here. Double-click on that. You can go ahead and hit skip because we've already done that step. And come over here to data files. And here inside of data files, you can see that there's a containers animated.esp. You can go ahead and select that, and expansion delay.esp. You go ahead and select that. You can hit play if you want to. It will glitch out. It won't work. So you see you can't find openmorrowind.exe. You can hit OK. You can hit and close. If you want that play function to work, you can actually rename openmorrowind.vr to just be openmorrowind.vr or openmorrowind.exe. And it will launch from that Open Morrowind launcher if you choose to. That's how you prefer to like launch the game. But for the most part, they're identical. Like it changes the configuration file and makes sure that that new modded content is being accessed. You should now be able to play Morrowind VR. If there's any questions or concerns, leave them down below in the video. Here's me jumping from Vardenfell to Solstheim. So just keep playing around, messing around with your comfort levels, and more videos will be coming soon. So that pretty much wraps it up for what I wanted to show off in this video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. If there's anything I can be more helpful with, you can always email me at hoverspool@gmail.com, and I'll try and get to your email. But likewise, there's other ways to sort of reach out. I'm going to see what I can do about that Discord server stuff, but we'll just sort of keep it in mind. And hopefully I'll be able to update this video pretty frequently. I've already installed most of the mods that I do want to talk about and how the reasoning for that as well. All the links will be in the description below. Thank you again for watching today, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Hey, thanks again for watching. I really do appreciate it. Feel free to like, comment, or subscribe if you want to. Really helps me out, really keeps me going. But no, I do really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm hopefully going to condense this down a lot more.